You're listening to the relaxing, soothing, and stress-free sounds of Sacramento Smooth Jazz.
Welcome back to Sacramento Smooth Jazz. I'm your host, Michael Andrews, and today we have the privilege of welcoming an acclaimed guitar virtuoso, JJ Sansaverino. With his mesmerizing melodies and a seamless fusion of smooth jazz, R&B, and even reggae, JJ has won over music enthusiasts worldwide, and you'll find out why here in just a second. Now, his musical journey is rooted in his earlier exposure to other instruments, and we'll talk a little bit about that, but his main focus is guitar, and you'll see why. It's led him to collaborate with many musicians. I'm talking about some legendary ones, Maceo Parker, Gerald Albright. He even performed at Sir Paul McCartney's wedding back in 2002. And I know that was exciting. His versatility and mastery of music overall has undoubtedly shaped his amazing sound. So join me as we embark on this musical odyssey, guided by the extraordinary talent of JJ Sansaverino. JJ, welcome to Sacramento Smooth Jazz. How are you today?
Michael, how you doing, man? I feel great. And, I really appreciate you taking out time in your busy schedule to include me in your wonderful program here. It's a great honor. Thank you.
Oh, it's my pleasure indeed. I've had you on my sights. I said, we got to get him on the show. Our listeners are wanting to hear more about you as well. And so we have some things to talk about. You've been around for a while, and you have some great music that's out there right now, and I know you have a lot of great things that you want to share with us. You've shared the stage with so many people, so many legends, around the world, and you performed in many locations. So Ronnie Scott's Jazz Club in London, you've been there at the Blue Note, of course, in New York, where you're from. You've been all over the place. So talk to me about those experiences. How do you connect with these audiences worldwide?
Well, I have always made it my life journey to travel the world and bring music and love and good vibes to everybody. And that is the most rewarding thing that I can do and that I get to experience, because I love music and I love people. And the simple vibe of playing at a concert and making people smile and then chopping it up with them afterwards, and people telling you how much they appreciate you for being there and spending a little bit of time to kind of, to talk and get to know each other. It's important that, to bring love out there in the world. And I'm just so grateful that I get to make people feel good with it. And it's a great honor. And I have no time in front of me that's going to be ending, because I plan on doing this for a long time.
I heard that. Now, your music, not just smooth jazz. You got a fusion of smooth jazz, R&B, and even reggae for what you're known for the last number of decades. You have diverse genres coming together to shape your sound. How do you keep that together? What connects them all?
One of the greatest things about being here in New York is that when you open your window, you might be hearing some Latin jazz, you might be hearing reggaeton, you're always hearing hip hop. And when you go out and you hit the clubs, jazz is prevalent, and it's just there's so many genres of music constantly around. You take a walk through Prospect Park or Flushing Meadows Park in Queens, you're going to hear African drumming. You're going to hear guy playing on the paint buckets. You know what I mean? So there's so much music around all of the time. It can inspire you. Like one of the songs on one of my CDs was a song called Esperanza, which means hope.
Yeah.
And I was walking through Flushing Meadows Park in Queens, and there was a Latin band playing, and it was in middle of the pandemic, and it was in June, and it was about 85 degrees, and there was a world crisis going on, but everybody was out in the park, feeling good, taking in that music. That inspired me. I came home that night, and I literally sat down in my studio and I composed that song in one day, because the inspiration came out of just those vibes,
Yeah.
And that's a true blessing.
The blessing when you're around influences that really shape things, you know what I mean? So it really is a testament to not just who you're around, but what you're around.
Yeah, that's right. And, I love all kinds of music. I should rephrase that. I love good music, because I can't say that every single thing I hear I love, because times have changed quite a bit in the modern times we live in. But I just love good music, and there's good music that's still coming out these days.
Yeah.
But I love music from the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, the 40s. If it's good and it moves you and it makes you feel good, then it is good.
With respect to the guitar, I know you have other instruments that you played around with, inspired you. Talk to us about how you landed on the guitar.
Well, the real story of my musical background is I come from a family of singers, grandmother, grandfather, uncles. Most of them were one of my grandmothers sang opera in New York, and another one of my grandfathers was a very well-known singer. And then a lot of my uncles were in doo-wop groups. So there was always singing, always singing. So music was such an important part of growing up. You know, my parents always played music in the house, from Motown to jazz to the Beatles. There was just, you know, great music. And then my uncle was always putting me on to soul and to doo-wop and all that kind of stuff. And so that's really where music kind of, you know, got into my bloodstream. And then I was lucky enough to have an opportunity to play some instruments in, you know, elementary school, junior high, and so forth. Picked up the violin for a little bit and the trumpet. And then finally, I found a beat up acoustic guitar in a closet. I think it might have been my mother's, because she played piano, and there weren't even all the strings on there. And I just started messing around on it, and, you know, from that moment, that guitar felt good. And then, you know, learning playing from records, taking some lessons. Eventually, I got an opportunity to attend the Berklee School of Music in Boston. And that's where really I gained a huge musical education that I'm very, very lucky to have, you know, and to be using in my career now.
So when you went to Berklee, was this planned? You say, hey, I want to go to Berklee. Talk about that decision-making process.
Well, it's trying to explain to your mom and dad that you wanted to be a professional musician when nobody in our family made it as a professional musician. I was, you know, encouraged, but I was also encouraged to come up with a backup plan. But my backup plan was non-existent. I was determined to do music, and I was going to do it. And then when my parents saw that this kid's going to do music, whether we talk him out of it or not, then they encouraged maybe to try to get some formal education. And I was lucky enough to get into music college back then in the late 80s, where it was very affordable, and it was a different time where it was kind of a smaller community and, you know, less, how can I say, music school. It was more about pencil and paper and playing and learning rather than computers and all that kind of stuff. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I learned so much, and I actually dropped out at one point. And because I was going back and forth to New York to play gigs on the weekends. And finally, I thought I had enough education, and I dropped out. And I was touring around and playing. And then finally one day, I just got thirst for more education. And I was going to Long Island University in Brooklyn for one summer. And I got myself back to Berklee. And I was taking my night classes at the Roxbury Community College, which was my academics, while going to school during the day at Berklee, getting the music, and then still traveling back to New York on the weekends to do my gigs. So I was living and breathing this 24/7. And I was lucky enough to graduate with a bachelor's degree in music. And I won the Writing Award of the Year. And I graduated cum laude because, you know, I'm sort of a perfectionist, man. If I'm going to do something, I want to do it 100. And it was such an interesting time in my life. And I am so grateful that I had the opportunity to experience it.
Wow. I'm speaking with an amazing guitarist, JJ Sansaverino. He's out of New York, and he's given us a few minutes today. He is so busy. I am really thrilled to hear about him now, his music, some things I didn't know. That's not on his bio. I didn't know about this other stuff. This is great. But tell me something here. You have great music in smooth jazz, but you're also in the reggae area as well. You know, talk to us a little bit about that for those who love the reggae.
Well, reggae music, I think for a lot of people, maybe don't realize how special reggae is. And reggae is a genre of music that you don't learn in any school, and you don't learn it on paper. It's something you have to live it and experience it. It's all about feel, it's all about soul, and it's about blues. When I came out of college, I was studying a lot of writing at the time. I was arranging for big bands. So I had a lot of pencil on paper around the clock. And when I got out, I came back to New York, I was tired of writing, and I'd always been into music, playing reggae, because reggae cats like what I brought with kind of the R&B, jazz, and rock. And I like what they brought, and I took it very serious and really tried to be very authentic and true to the genre. And when I got back, somebody was like, hey, we're going on tour. You want to come? I was like, yep. And I spent 10 years on the road touring the world with reggae artists.
Nice.
Yeah, and it was incredible.
Wow.
I mean, like Dennis Brown to the Marley family to Shaggy to Sean Paul. And then in 2000, I started playing for Maxi Priest, and I'm still currently guitarist for Maxi Priest. And this is going on almost my 24th year with him.
Really?
And when you're on stage and the sound is right and the band is hitting and that drum and bass is hitting, there's nothing like that kind of music, that reggae. It's so special to me. Now, as you know, I mentioned before, and you know, I love jazz and I love rock and I love R&B. I love hip hop. It's just reggae is a very important part of sort of my story. And I learned so much about it. I'm so grateful for it because, you know, I have so many people in my life that are family to me because of that. And it was a great experience. And it's not ending anytime soon. And finally, Maxi Priest talked me into doing a radio single with him. And yeah, we got a brand new single out now called Blessed with a Melody, JJ Sansaverino and Maxi Priest. And it's kind of like a ska reggae song, but it's got horns and Maxi's voice is killing on it. It's awesome.
Wow. It's an amazing, amazing story. And I mean, you're just multifaceted. Your music, when it comes to your writing, you got an award for the writing. You know, you have that power to invoke emotions, and you create that sense of, you know, I'm gonna say peace when it comes to your music. You know, let me ask you this: when you're writing and when you're performing, what do you hope that people will take from you?
When I'm writing, I'm just thinking about the song and how it's coming together and just nurturing the inspiration of how it came to me. And then when the song is done and it feels good, it makes me feel good that I created something that I'm happy with. Then as that goes to the next level where we start to distribute it on radio and through CD and through great radio promoters and personalities like yourself, I just want that music to bring joy to people. I want them to say, man, I really like that. And I like when I meet people all over the world and they tell me how much they enjoy my music, or my guitar playing, or my songwriting, or the diversity of the music that I present on my CDs. And it really makes me feel good when it hits people and makes them feel good, because that's what it's all about.
Yes. I want to transition to when it comes to the success you've had in this music industry. I mean, I'm talking about Billboard chart-topping singles, huge critical acclaim. You've traveled the world. You have had great success. What advice would you give to those musicians who are they're starting out, they're just trying to make their mark? What advice do you give?
That's a great question, and I really, really like this question, and I'll tell you why. I work a lot with younger artists in, like, say, corporate environments, meaning I still do weddings for people when they want, and they invite me to do them, and corporate events for parties or whatever. And I usually end up being the musical director for these groups, as well as the MC and the guitarist. So I get to work with so many young artists, singers on stage. And what this younger generation doesn't have that we had was I had the opportunity of playing 6 or 7 nights a week around New York in the Village and playing gig after gig, 2 a night, constantly playing, which is where you learn music. There was no YouTube. You didn't know a song. You had to keep your cassette deck on, play and record on pause with the radio on to wait for your song to come on to catch it so you could learn it. Or what I used to do was go to my friend's basement where he had 1 million records. And I'd say, you got this record by Mtume, you got this record by Herb Albert, you got this record, this Motown record, you got this rock record, you got this Teddy Pendergrass record. And he would make me these mixtapes that I would learn. Because if you were on stage in those days and you didn't know a song, you would cut some slack. But you don't come back on the stage the next night and not know that song, because that wasn't the standard. Standard was you can always bring your best. So these young musicians and singers don't have that opportunity because the gigs don't exist. There's not a place to play Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, multiple places. So they don't have that opportunity to get up on stage. So what I always encourage is any opportunity you have to get out of your house and go hit the streets and go sit in and play, get on stage as often as possible. You shouldn't be choosing gigs based upon what's paying. You should be choosing gigs for the opportunity to get on stage and play and learn repertoire, learn all of the classic rock songs, all the 90s alternative rock songs, all the 90s hip hop songs, all the 90s R&B songs, all the jazz classic standards like A Night in Tunisia, Take the A Train, In a Sentimental Mood, Donna Lee. Learn all of the smooth jazz songs. learn all of the top 40 that's on the radio right now. Because if you want to work, you need to know songs and you need to have experience to be on a big stage. And you only get that from being on stage. Can't learn that by watching it on TV.
Come on, my goodness. Did you hear that, listeners? That right there was a lesson. And with homework, okay? That's homework.
It's all homework.
And I like how you mentioned get on the stage, choose the gigs, not because of what they pay or don't pay, but because of the opportunity to play and to learn
and to be on stage and gain experience.
My goodness. See that right there. Cut, print, that right there.
Most definitely, bro. Definitely.
Wow. There it is.
Yeah, because Michael, when you think about it, like learning all these songs, you're just learning now vocabulary, and you need to have vocabulary to speak a language. Music is a language, like Spanish, English, man. You got to have the vocabulary to speak it. And that's why it's important to transcribe music. And if you want to play jazz, to learn these jazz, transcribe and listen so that you catch that vocabulary so that when you're playing jazz, you can speak the language. And R&B, you playing R&B, you got to know the language, the types of chords that are popular and commonly used, and that fit the genre. And then with rock, what to play and what not to play. Straight feel, swing feel, muted, unmuted. There's just so much. And it's just learning repertoire and vocabulary will only help, and it'll get you work. Because if I'm calling musicians on a corporate type gig where we're going to play for 4 hours all cover songs, I'm not calling a cat that don't know songs. I got to call somebody that I know is going to know, especially here in New York, because we are mashing it up constantly. We're putting hip hop in everything. We're sneaking in Usher and Neo, Isley Brothers. We're putting in John Coltrane and Miles Davis all over the place. And if you don't know these songs, we're not calling you for jobs.
Come on. If you don't know these songs, we're not calling you for jobs. I love it, JJ. I absolutely love this. I love this. So do me a favor. What can we expect from you in the future? Are there any new projects or collaborations on the horizon?
Well, I definitely have 2024 is coming to a close. And, I had the 2 singles I released this year, Blessed with the Melody with Maxie. And then earlier, I think it was April, I released Keep It Moving, which is going to be on an upcoming CD of mine for next year. And I'm still trying to find the title for that. So I'm trying to do something really crazy and release 3 CDs at the same time next year. One is going to be an authentic 100% reggae jazz CD. One is going to be a smooth jazz CD. And one is going to be more of an eclectic jazz fusion with Latin and a little bit more, definitely not radio friendly, but with a lot of playing on it. And I feel like it'll nurture 3 separate markets without stepping on each other's toes. So that's my goal for 2024. And I'm already digging in.
I love your vision. I love your passion. And I love where you're going on this.
I'm a little crazy too, but
it's all right. And listen, the most successful people are a little crazy anyway. And it's okay.
We got to take risks, Michael, and it's important to push ourselves too. Every day I get up and I come into my office/studio and I look at my emails, I look at my calendar, I try to do my bookings, I work in my marketing. My guitar is right in my face. I can't help but not pick it up, try to write and just nurture this career that I'm trying to build every day, and even on Sundays.
Even on Sundays. How can our listeners get in touch with you? Social media, websites, what do you have?
If you can spell my name, JJ Sansaverino, I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram. That's my website. I'm all over. I love touring, so I'm trying to get out there as much as possible. You might see 50, 60 JJ Sansaverino gigs in a year, but I'm playing 5 or 6 gigs every week that you don't know about because it's either playing in a hotel, it's either playing in a bar with a friend of mine, because I just like playing my guitar. I want to play my guitar at every opportunity. So I still play 250 shows a year. And 2024, we're going to do more. We're going to put more music out and we're going to do more shows. And if I haven't been to your city, I'm coming to your city. And matter of fact, I'm coming to your city. I'm coming to Sacramento, Stockton, and all that in 2024, Mike.
That's right. That's right. I see that. And the public doesn't know. I'm thrilled that you're heading over this way. And so our listeners have an opportunity to see you live and in person. And we'll talk about that. And in fact, we'll bring you back on before that so we can let people know what's really going on.
Fantastic.
Let's do this. We got your latest track. And I want our listeners to hear what's going on with you. Let us know what's happening with this track. Give us some insight that maybe the credits don't show. What do you got to say about this?
I'm going to bring it back to my previous single, Keep It Moving, because it's a song that is one of my favorites. And it's because it's right into the smooth jazz genre, right in that lane. But it brings some of the R&B vibe from the 80s that I really like into it. And I'm so excited because my good friend Omari Williams, who plays for Boney James, and Smitty, who plays bass for Boney, are on that. And it's a happening track. Let me set up for you all my good friends out there, Michael Andrews, Sacramento Smooth Jazz listeners, you about to take in and witness, strap on your seatbelts for the JJ Sansaverino single, Keep It Moving.
And you get to hear it right now on Sacramento Smooth Jazz. JJ, I am thrilled to have you join me today, man. Thank you very much.
Pleasure is mine, Michael. Can't wait to do it again, bro. And I can't wait for us to hang out next year.
Thanks for listening to Sacramento Smooth Jazz. To continue listening to Smooth Jazz 24/7, follow Sac Smooth Jazz on social media and listen by going to sacsmoothjazz.fm.